Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Dayspring Discussions. I'm your host, Sean McGahee. In this show, we talk about movies, TV, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books. If you geek out about it, we're going to talk about it. You can listen to Dayspring Discussions on iTunes, YouTube, Podomatic, Patreon, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever, guys. While you're there, go and rate, review, subscribe, then head on over to the Facebook group and Twitter account and join in the discussion. Well, hello, everyone. It is Friday. That's right. The weekend is upon us. Hope you guys had a good week. Hope you got some good plans for the weekend. I myself am heading to the beach. That's right. Tomorrow, me, my wife, my daughter, we're going to get out of town for a couple of days, kind of a mini vacation, really, and go to the Gulf for just, a little bit of beach time. My wife's not really a big fan of the beach, but me and my daughter are, so we're going to go enjoy it as much as we can, of course, in this time. We're going to try to stay, social distancing just in our little bubble, and overall just relaxing. Like I said, have a good time. All right, guys, so on today's show, I'm doing a little different format, of course. Now, originally, when I first started doing this show, I would do several topics at a time. And then a while ago, I switched to single topics to make the video shorter and, maybe get some more people to subscribe and get more listeners because, we these days have very small attention spans. So the shorter videos, the better. But I've finding myself lately trying to fit in time to do actual podcasts. Of course, the social media accounts are there to share stuff and talk about stuff, discuss, if you will, but I find myself less and less having time to really do actual episodes. So I'm going to go back to my format once a week, several topics per week, kind of the highlight of the things that I want to talk about. And of course, if you guys don't like this or you want to go back to the other format where it's one subject, shorter episodes, let me know, of course. But this is how I think it's going to work best for me for now. Like I said, just because I feel like I'm pretty busy these days. So I can spare one day a week, hour or two to just kind of talk about all the things that I want to talk about. So on today's show, I'm going to start off with my spoilers review of The Umbrella Academy Season 2. It's been out for a week now. A lot of people were talking about it last weekend. I myself finished it, so I want to talk about that. Also want to talk about The Boys. A new Season 2 trailer came out. That is coming September 4th, the new season on Amazon Prime. I'm excited for that. And then I'm going to top it all off with all the news that Mulan is coming to Disney+. But there's a catch to it. So I'll get to all that in just a minute, guys. But first, it's time for a new segment I like to call What's Got My Interest. So these are things throughout the week that I'm watching, reading, listening, whatever. Whatever I'm doing at this time. Usually I'll probably go do a review on some of this stuff later on. But to start off, what has got my interest? Transformers War of Cybertron Season 1 is out on Netflix. I know it came out about a week or so ago, I believe. I'm a couple episodes in, and I'm a guy who I enjoy Transformers. Growing up, I had plenty of Transformers toys. I wasn't a huge fan, but I call myself a fan. I always say the 1986 animated film was kind of my pinnacle of Transformers hype. I love that film. It's still my favorite Transformers film. Bitchin' soundtrack, great story, great characters, great voiceovers. Kind of is the center of my Transformer fandom a little bit. But the mythology of it all you can dive into. And that's kind of what this is really is, there are the Transformers. They're not on Earth like they did in the original animated series. They're on Cybertron. They're fighting the war, Autobots versus Decepticons, and it's kind of just that whole thing, which I enjoy. It's about the mythology of it all. So I'm a couple episodes in. So far, not bad. If you guys are watching it or have watched Transformers War of Cybertron, fire back in the social media accounts. Let me know what you think. And the other thing that's got my attention right now, Star Wars Poe Dameron Freefall by Alex Segura. This is the newest Star Wars book that came out this week. I am listening to the audiobook being read by Sean Elias Reyes. I listen to all the Star Wars audiobooks, really is what it is. I mean, not all of them. My wife, Lisa, she really does all the Star Wars books. I do most of them, not all of them though. There's some that don't really hold my attention, but I do a fair amount of them. This is the newest one. This is what I'm listening to. I'm about halfway through it. Honestly, I'm not loving it just because of the subject matter. I always say Star Wars, my favorite thing is the Jedi, the Sith, the dark side, the light side, the Force. That's really what I'm into in regards to Star Wars. The whole underground, underbelly, bounty hunters, all that stuff, not really my forte, but I like the character of Poe Dameron. This gives you a little bit of history of, how he grew up on Yavin 4 with his parents being rebellion heroes, if you say that, how he got mixed up with the Spice Runners of Kojimi and met Z, who we see in Rise of Skywalker, and just kind of that whole story looks like I said, I'm halfway through it. It's okay, but not great. But if you want to, learn some history of Poe Dameron, I think it's a good way to go. I'll let you know just what I think about it once I'm done, guys. All right, guys, so time to get to the main topics for today, and I'm starting off with my review of The Umbrella Academy Season 2. So, a little bit of history. Of course, Umbrella Academy came out last year on Netflix. A lot of people liked it, myself included. Really enjoyed it. Now, it's based off the Dark Horse comic book. I was familiar with the comic book, but I had never actually read it. To this day, I still have not read it. So, full disclosure there. Something I always confess, of course, yes, I've read comic books my whole life, especially those in the superhero genre. And a lot of times when something comes out that I haven't read, where they're adapting it to a movie or a series or something like that, I try to check it out. However, I have not done that with the Umbrella Academy, mainly because, growing up, I was mainly a DC Marvel guy like a lot of people, and I occasionally branch out to stuff. But still, Umbrella Academy, it's like a different version of X-Men, which I'll get to, so I'd rather just read X-Men. Anyway, Season 2 came out. Now, if we remember, we last left the Hargraves, Season 1. They had just stopped the apocalypse from who was caused by their sister, Vanya. Turns out she had powers, and Fives was getting them to safety, and it turns out he sent them back in time to the 1960s, and it's really interesting, of course they chose that time period, and the fact that the 60s were a very big social shift in America at that time, and each one of them kind of dealing with it, in their own way, where you have Allison, of course, getting caught up in the civil rights movement. You have Luther, who's mixed up with the mob. Klaus is in the whole hippie cult movement to go along with it. So each of them kind of getting caught up in one of the pivotal kind of moments or waves of the 1960s. The civil rights movement, I think, being probably the most powerful and compelling and important thing during that era. But the family eventually finds their way back to each other, of course, fighting off another apocalypse, which allegedly is caused by, once again, Vanya. So to me, that seemed a little repetitive. I kind of compare it to the Flash on the CW, right? The first couple of seasons, the main villain of the season was a speedster like the Flash. So after a while, it got a little dull. But then in season 4, we got the Thinker, I believe is what his name was. And honestly, I missed the speedsters. So while, you can get away with Apocalypse once, maybe twice, I don't think they should try to pull it again for a third time. Of course, with people powers like these, you have a challenge that's going to rise and meet them, and I think they figured it out here at the end of season 2. Now, much like a lot of ensemble casts of series, there are just characters that you latch on to and those you don't. And like right now, I'm watching the newest season, of Shameless on Netflix. And the stuff with Ian, I'm not really interested in, so I kind of skip past it to like the Lip stuff or the Debbie stuff or the Frank stuff like that. So, I wasn't totally interested in all their storylines. The Vanya one and Luther storyline, not great. I really enjoyed the Allison, the Klaus, the number 5. The actor who plays number 5, Aidan Gallagher, great. I mean, he's a great actor, a young actor, of course, part of this ensemble, does a great job. Diego is probably, I want to say my favorite character out of the whole family, but maybe not. He's definitely up there, though. This whole season, he was trying to stop the assassination of John F. Kennedy, and come to find out that their father was actually a part of the whole assassination. And that's really something, that got me in that 9th episode of the season. And remember, I'm doing spoilers, so if you haven't watched it, pause now, come back later, is, their dad goes to the group that planned the JFK assassination. And, he said he's against them and he doesn't want to do it again. He's out. And they say, no, you're not out. And we don't know what happened except for the fact that he took off his face. Okay? Revealing that the professor might not actually be human. Whether he's from another world, I don't know. Whether he is, some kind of mutant or someone with special powers, much like the kids are, we don't know that either. But I think it's definitely a great tease for what's to come in the next season, and hopefully we'll get that answer. Now, also in this season, we did get a death of one of the family members, Ben, but really Ben was already dead, so it wasn't as much of an impact in my eyes. I mean, the scene between him and Vanya was good. I enjoyed it, of course, but it wasn't, as impactful, I think, as a whole, as opposed to, say, if one of the other family members died. But this time looks like Ben is gone, at least in this reality. And the big reveal, of course, being that the girl who is new to the season, Lila, is the second to the handler, Kate Walsh's character, like a daughter to her. She's got powers. And that was kind of, something a little wild. When Vanya tried to do her whole thing to take out all the company men, so to speak, and then Lila came back and, copied her powers, and you come to find out that, she's a mimic. That's her power, as a mimic. And it's interesting because, even going back to last season, when you learn that the professor collected 7 kids that were born on that specific date in 1989. I think it was like October something, right? I don't want to look it up. But in 1989, collected all those kids, right? But you also knew that there was, I think, 30-something kids that were born, which always sit in the back of my mind. Okay, these 7 kids have special powers. What about the rest of them? There's more with powers, and we come to find out Lila is one of them. So I think it's, said that there are more kids that are the exact same age as everyone else, and they probably have powers too, something that will be explored in next season or further seasons. I had one of my friends talking to me about Kate Walsh as the villain, the handler, in this season, and I think she's so eccentric, and I like that in a villain, where it's a show that, it is kind of a kooky cast of characters, so the villain as such should be, kind of even a little more nuts in my eyes. And Kate Walsh, who is a stunningly beautiful woman, she does a great job in this. Whether she's actually dead still, I wouldn't count my money on it. Of course, I'm still expecting for the other Swede to show up at some point next season. A couple of their teases for next season, of course. Harlan still having a little bit of that power that Vanya gave him. We'll see how that pays out. I can definitely see something where, they go back to the 60s and, Vanya still has given him a little of that power that she did. And then we fast forward to the future, 2019, 2020, and Harlan has grown up, and Vanya gets to see an adult Harlan and how he has used perhaps his powers a little more. I think could be an interesting plot line. And of course, speaking of powers, Diego, he's good at throwing knives. We found out why. He's got some kind of like metallic powers, stopping those bullets when they were coming at him. Possibly a Magneto type character, which means he could probably be a pretty powerful character if you know just how powerful Magneto can be. And that kind of segues into the crux of the main thing about this series is, like I said, I have not read the original Umbrella Academy material, but they always seemed like a little bit of an offshoot of X-Men. And this show, especially this season 2, definitely, kind of cements that, where it has that X-Men feel. Not only these, a group of individuals with powers who were trained by this professor in this school, but also the nature of time travel, alternate realities, all these other things that, as a longtime X-Men reader, I'm used to. Like, I was talking to one of my friends on Facebook after I had watched the season, and talking about how, this really is the best live-action version of X-Men that we've gotten, in my eyes, because it does deal with the time travel and all the powers very well, to me, much more than what Fox has done in either their live-action stuff, which does has some good stuff in it, or their, TV stuff with like The Gifted and I don't know, the Mutant X show. Was that actually X-Men or was it just the same title? I don't know. Either way, you get to the end of the season and my friend was, a little thrown off about, blown away, if you will, about what's happening with the fact that they come back to the future and the professor is not only alive, but he's also replaced them with, looks like, a different set of kids. The Pelican, or I don't remember. I know I'm not looking this stuff up, guys. Sorry, but it's completely. They got a new name. It's not the Umbrella Academy. New name, looks like new kids, and they got to live in this reality, or probably just try to fix it because Lord knows it's probably another apocalypse coming. But anyway, that kind of thing that a normal viewer was, kind of blown away by. That kind of story. I'm used to it. Anyone who has read, a lot of superhero comic books are used to the genre or sci-fi. We're used to that kind of stuff. We're used to alternate realities, time travel, superpowers, all this stuff. And, to me, I was like, oh, this is so cool because it really does feel like a really good X-Men storyline, something you would see in like a Days of Future Past or Age of Apocalypse or something like that, which I thought was super cool. How it's all going to end up, I don't know, though. Of course, they left us with a lot of questions. I know, given the success of season 2, and I think how much people are talking about it, I have no doubt there's going to be a season 3. And hopefully we'll get some of those questions answered. One thing I wasn't a big fan of, though, in this season was the way Luther was treated. They made him kind of, I know he's the big, strong guy, almost like a jock, but they made him seem kind of dumb at some points in this season. So for that, I wasn't a big fan of it, but, oh well, there's plenty of other good stuff. When it comes to entertainment, in my eyes, you got to weigh the good with the bad, and as long as there's more good than bad, it's good programming to me. So, but what do you guys think? What did you feel were some of the big moments of Umbrella Academy Season 2? Of course, there's the dance scene in the salon. There's that one, which I, of course, enjoyed the dance scenes every season with that. But what do you think? What are your theories for Season 3? Fire back, let me know, social media groups, and of course, dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com. Alright guys, next up, The Boys Season 2. A new trailer has dropped for the Amazon Prime series. The new season is going to come out September 4th, which of course is the date that Mulan is now going to appear on Disney+. I'll talk about that more in just a minute, but either way, I'm psyched. Boys, again, based off a comic book that I have actually checked out and read a little of, not a lot, but a little of, and, I got what they were going for with Garth Ennis and the comic book. With this, I think the show definitely exceeds what the comic was, or at least what I remember it was. It's been a while since I read it. But kind of, the way they treated the superheroes and the metaphors for what the superheroes represented in Season 1 were really, celebrities about how they're treated, how they think, how they're perceived, I guess you would say. And according to the virtual panel we got at Comic-Con, from the creator himself said, yes, that there are those metaphors that we're going to continue in season 2, and he said they're going to be dealing with white supremacism in season 2 as that metaphor. And it definitely, you can see that from this trailer where you have our new character of Stormfront, I believe her name is, coming in trying to convince the Seven to rally against superpowered immigrants and recruit more superheroes, have an army of superheroes, really to go against those that they don't see fit, much like our crew, the boys. And kind of based off what I've seen from trailers and clips, last year, of course, we had the showdown at the end between Starlight and A-Train. And I think it's going to be one of those things where Starlight, is going to kind of be the spy within the Seven for the boys. She's a good person. She has feelings for Huey. So I can see her, just kind of being the spy. I can also see her being found out by the end of the season and stuff goes bad. But I think that's really where they're going with her for this season. And the big cliffhanger at the end of the first season was, of course, Butcher came and found his wife that he thought was dead. And turns out that she has a son who has superpowers, probably from Homelander. Now, whether they got it on or whether the child was made through engineering, much like Homelander was. We'll wait and see about that. But we did have that hilarious scene where Homelander looks like he's trying to test the kid's powers and throws him out the roof and he ends flat on the ground. Again, the trailer just had all those little tropes. We find out that probably the character Stan Edgar, played by Giancarlo Esposito, is that how you say it? I know I'm horrible at names. He's going to take over, of course, probably that Elizabeth Shue character since she kind of bit the dust last season. He's a good actor. I've actually met him in real life. Real nice guy. So I'm looking forward to him, and maybe he'll bring the Darksaber with him. Who knows? But this trailer showed us what we have come to expect and love about the boys, with the violence and the over-the-top gratuity of it all. It's something sick inside all of us, people. I know it is. We love it. There's something wrong with all of us. But also, giving us that real world slant about, heroes in our world. And everyone has their take on it, Marvel Studios says they try to do the best with what if these heroes were in the real world. Same thing with Warner Brothers and their properties. The Boys is something else where, you have this kind of Justice League type of group in this world, and how they're perceived and what they would do, and really what a superpowered individual like Homelander might be like. It's fun to watch. It's great entertainment, and I cannot wait for season 2, guys. Fire back, of course, dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com, Facebook group and Twitter. Let me know what you think about this newest season for Boys, coming out September 4th, and what'd you think about the trailer? Okay, guys, last topic for today, and boy, is it a doozy. So, it was announced a couple days ago that Disney is officially releasing the live-action version of Mulan on Disney+. A lot to wrap around with it, though, because it's coming to Disney+, the streaming service, which you can pay for a subscription for, but you got to pay extra for it. And it's all still going to pop up in theaters in some places in the world as well. So a little bit of history, of course. Mulan was supposed to come out back in May. A big movie for Disney. I would say easily a $1 billion film. It could have been, actually. But with the whole pandemic, COVID-19 thing going on, kept getting pushed back and back and back, till finally Disney just tried to do the best thing they could, which is they're going to release it on Disney+, but do what they call premium, to where they're going to charge people $30 to rent it. Okay? And this has some people upset because, people pay already for a Disney Plus subscription. Why do they have to pay more to see this on Disney Plus? Well, let's think about it, of course, too, kids. If you were to take your family to go see this in theaters, it would almost cost you $50, $60 for tickets and then some more for snacks. So really, $30 is a bargain. Now, I myself would much rather have seen it in theaters for the experience of it, especially for a film like this. I think it deserves to be seen in theaters, much like, a Tenet or a Black Widow needs to be seen in theaters to really experience it how it was meant, how the filmmakers want you to see it, really. But with everything going on, it might not be possible. So what the article I got from Variety says is, yes, it will be on Disney Plus with an additional service fee, but it will also show in theaters around the world where Disney Plus is not available. And I looked it up, and one of the places that does not have Disney Plus right now is China. Not only China is, the second biggest market right now as far as box office. Also, the Chinese theaters are opening up back now because they're recovering from the pandemic. They got a little better handle on it than we Americans do. And then third, obviously, Mulan is an old Chinese story, actually. So it appeals to them from a cultural sense as well. So kind of those three things right there makes me believe the film can make some money. And I have no doubt that eventually Mulan will be seen in theaters by people, whether it's, a couple months from now or whether it's a couple years from now. You're going to be able to see it in theaters eventually. And I think that's a smart thing to do with Disney as well. So say I plan on watching it when it comes out on Disney Plus. It's a movie I really wanted to see. A couple months ago, you had Trolls, where you could rent for $20. I had no interest in Trolls. I'll go and say it, I had no interest in Trolls. It's my money. I earn it. My daughter wanted to see Trolls. I get it, but you know what? If she wanted to see it, she could have paid for it herself. But we all want to see it. I want to see it. My wife wants to see us. My daughter, who just started watching the animated Mulan, she's probably going to want to see this as well. So it's a movie we can sit down, all of us together, probably my mother-in-law included, maybe even some of my step-siblings, sibling-in-laws. I got that wrong. Sibling-in-laws can sit down, turn off the lights, turn up the volume on our big screen TV, and enjoy this film and, help make some money for Disney, because this all came, of course, from their earnings report saying that, Disney right now, like a lot of company, almost every company, is in trouble. The theme parks aren't open. They can't get their shows or their movies to theaters. So, they're losing revenue. And the only thing that's really making money for Disney right now is the streaming service. So you really have to try to take advantage of that. And I totally understand. Now, this is also coming on the heels of the news that AMC and Universal Studios have made a deal about shortening the release window in regards to movies going from theaters to VOD. Now, originally, it said that it's 90 days from the time a film is released to when the studios are allowed to put it on VOD, giving the theater maximum amount of time to earn money for the film being in their theaters. And that's where studios make the most money, is in the theaters. Okay, it's not on VOD. That's where they're going to get the most money for their movies. That's why they want to release these movies in theaters, which is why I was, a little surprised when eventually they said they're going to release Mulan on Disney Plus, but they're going to charge a bit for it, but they're not going to get nowhere near the numbers they would if they just would have released it in theaters. I understand that. Apparently, if you crunch the numbers, you have to have about like 10 million people buy Mulan on Disney Plus, the premium buy, whatever you want to call it, in order to kind of get back the budget of this film. Now, one of the pluses, of this is that releasing it on VOD means the theaters don't get their 30% cut, because you don't have to cut the theaters in, because it's not going to be in a lot of theaters, which of course has enraged a lot of theater owners and companies, because they're cutting them out of a lot of money. Not only from that, but also movie theaters, like I said, the average would get about 30% of what the film does, and then the other 70% goes back to the studio. And then movie theaters make majority of their money off the snacks, off the popcorn, the candy, the soda. It was once said by someone that movie theaters aren't in the movie business, they're in the candy business, the soda business, because that's what they make the most money off of. And the movies are just the vehicle to get them in the building to buy the snacks. Now, I don't want to get too much into the whole AMC Universal thing. That's a whole different topic I could talk a lot more about. But with this one specifically, Disney's CEO said it's going to be a one-time thing. This is going to be a regular thing. What is going on in movies right now is the fact that there are these movies that were supposed to come out months ago. And despite what people think, movie studios don't have billions and billions of dollars lying around that they can spend on movies. They, much like a lot of us, borrow money from the banks to pay for stuff. And when we pay it back, it has interest. So a film like Mulan that was supposed to come out 2 months ago, okay, that's 2 more months of interest that the bank is adding to what Disney owes them. So what Disney is trying to do, what I think a lot of studios really want to do, is to try to take these big budget movies that have obviously accumulated a lot of interest and try to pay off as much as they can, just to close it out. And that's kind of what they really want to do. I think they're also kind of testing the market a little bit to see how this format works. From what I heard, some fans are not happy about Disney Plus and then paying some more for it. But you know what? Get over it, guys. It's a movie that was supposed to be in theaters, and you're going to pay less to see it on VOD already, because chances are you already have a Disney Plus subscription. But again, Disney says it's a one-time thing. They're just trying to get it out there so they can really pay it off, I think, is what they're really trying to do, and get some kind of revenue also, because like I said, they're hurting on money as well, like a lot of other companies. Look, movies are an art form, okay? Making movies is an art form to the directors, to the actors, to the writers, but to the producers and the studio heads, it's a business, guys. It's about money, it's about numbers. A franchise stops making money or is on a downward spiral, they're going to stop making it, because that's not good business, okay? People who pay for the directors and the writers and the actors, they want to make the money off of it, okay? So when you look at movies from a business perspective, you start to understand decisions that are made quite more clearly in the business. And to me, this is clearly a business decision, which I think benefits us, the viewers, and really has Disney coming off a little less than what they could have had they released in theaters. But these are unprecedented times and unprecedented situations, and Disney and companies, much like we people, are just trying to make the best of it. And that's really what it comes down to, guys. But time for you guys to fire back. Let me know, are you going to purchase Mulan when it comes out on Disney Plus? I'm sure you already have Disney Plus. I don't know anyone who doesn't have Disney Plus, to be honest, or is at least not sharing somebody's account. So are you going to purchase it? Are you going to wait? Because if you wait a couple months, I'm sure it's going to pop up either in theaters or on Disney Plus for free. And how do you feel, about this whole financial situation? And do you feel this is the best way Disney could have handled it? Fire back on the social media group's Gmail account and let me know what you think. All right, guys, that is it for me today. Man, I felt like it was a long one just because, I usually go one subject and I'm in and out pretty quick. But, this, I think I got through a lot of stuff, said what I had to say, and, it might be better. You guys decide. Let me know what you think works better. But for me, schedule-wise, I feel like once a week, couple topics a week, back to what I originally was, I think worked a lot better. So let me know. You guys decide, and we'll go from there. So that's it. Guys, go out. Enjoy your weekend, of course. Have a good time. I'm turning off my social media accounts for a couple of days. Yes, I'm one of those people who, when I go on a beach vacation, I like to log off the social media accounts, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I still, check the websites for news and stuff like that, but you're not going to hear from me for a couple of days. So post stuff up on the Twitter account and Facebook group, guys, and, we'll keep it going from there. But that's it. Hope you have a good day. Have a good life. And until next time, may the force be with us all.